Welcome to another episode of my show here this evening on this lovely Saturday. And it is, of course, August the 12th, 2023. And we're joined by another person on the show from the world of professional wrestling. And this person isn't just your regular guy. He is a founder, he is an owner, he is a promoter. There's something he doesn't do, I guess, and it's with a great privilege to welcome along Drake Gallows from the Great Wrestling Promotion in Oklahoma, and welcome to my show this afternoon or this evening, depending where you're watching us from.
Yeah, it is 1 p.m. here in Oklahoma. We're in Tulsa tonight. And thank you very much for having me.
Well, I've been trying to get you on the show for a while, as you know.
Yeah, I know it.
I've been trying to get you on for months, and we finally got it. We finally got it done. So, hallelujah on show day, on your show day tonight. And you're a very busy guy, obviously, before the show, and you made time to come on this little show this afternoon. And of course, I got to know you for a few months or so now, haven't I? So it's been quite the pleasure of getting to know you better and vice versa, and it's been quite the experience.
Oh yeah, it's very nice to be able to get on the show finally. We finally had a little bit of free time. We've been actively running 12 to 15 events per year here in Oklahoma, and I, as an active wrestler, have been having between 80 and 120 matches a year, which means there's some weekends where I'll wrestle, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, sometimes twice.
Wow.
Whether I'm doing 2 matches on one event or I'll be doing 2 events in the same day. We actually have an event coming up next month. Our next show in September is going to be south of here. It'd be southwest of here in Midwest City, Oklahoma. We're going to do a 4 p.m. and a 6 p.m. event, and so we'll all be doing double duty that day. And I actually think there's a Friday night event, not my show, but an event the day before, and there's also a Sunday show that same weekend. So there's potential for some wrestlers to get a lot of work that weekend, and that'll be really interesting and busy. But tonight, luckily, just one show, 6 o'clock, Tulsa, Oklahoma. UWO is here at the American Legion post, where we have a really good relationship with the owners and contributors of this place. They take very good care of us, and they're very, very loyal to us. So we appreciate them letting us be here, and we're very excited to have an event tonight. Just about as much excited as we are to talk to you today.
Yes, absolutely. And as you mentioned about this great event is happening tonight, there is the flyer on your screens there, and of course the person who everyone's talking about is, of course, who's right there in the first row is, of course, Chris Morrison.
Oh yeah, Chris Morrison is our reigning UWO heavyweight champion. He is a 2-time champion, and he is becoming kind of a death match performer as of late, ever since the last time we were here in Tulsa, where he beat Sam Stackhouse,
of course,
in a death match for the UWO Championship. He actually was defending it that night, but he did some insane stuff in that match where they were taking gussets, which are these very large pieces of metal with sharp spikes all over them. They're supposed to be to hold lumber together, and they were shoving them in. They were like stabbing each other in the stomach and chest and back with them. So there was just blood and guts everywhere. And now he's doing events in like South Texas, and he's trying to go to Mexico and get hepatitis, I think, because he's going there to do death matches. But he's been a friend of mine for almost 15 years now, and he's a hell of a guy, and he's a very good wrestler. And I'm actually really, really proud of him, because I couldn't think of anybody else, more dedicated and more professional and, more consistent in the business than a guy like him. He's actually living up to the hype, and he's doing what he's supposed to do to make that title matter.
Yeah.
He's doing what he's supposed to do to make the company more important. And I mean, he's just an all-around good cat, and he's a damn good wrestler. And I honest to God hope the moon for that guy. I want him to make it, and I think he will.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see what happens, and of course, the focus is for him this evening. Do you think?
The main event tonight
Yeah.
is it's actually, I mean, the primary focus right now is something we haven't gotten to talk about. We're having a tournament right now called the Crow Cup, and that is a tournament that is 11 years old. This will be the 12th year since the first. The first tournament took place in 2012. That I actually made it to the finals and won, and there was a 10-year gap where we didn't do a tournament. We wanted to let it rest and let it sit because it's a tribute to my fallen brother. My brother passed away in 2011, and 1 year after that, we did the tournament, and I actually made it to the finals and won, which was a huge honor. And last year we brought it back, and we did the first, tournament in a decade. And this year we decided to bring it back, and we actually have a very beautiful 4-foot-high tier trophy that we're going to debut tonight and let everybody get a look at it. The match between Colt Kilbane and Morrison is a first-round tournament match in the Crow Cup. We have had one person already make it. The first round match was Revan, which his name is now Ricky Wingrave. He changed his name.
Of course,
he
like
defeated
you always
Malik.
do.
Yeah, it's wrestling, right? You'll go by 4 or 5 things. But Ricky Wingrave beat Malik Mayfield in Tuttle, Oklahoma last month. Tonight it's Chris Morrison against Colt Kilbane, who is another one of those like bad motherfuckers. He's just he's in the weight room every single day. This guy's putting up 300, 400, 500 pounds on deadlifts, and he's incredibly strong and incredibly talented. So they're gonna have a banger. And then the other tournament match we're having tonight is Leo Fox, who's our RDW Ironman champion right now, and he's going to go against Adrian Vega. The story there is Adrian and Leo both came out of the McAllister Wrestling School. Their coach's name was Stryker. Well, Stryker was a very, very good friend of my brother's who passed away, and Stryker has battled cancer. He has battled near-death experience after near-death experience. It seems like he has just dodged bullet after bullet in life. Wow. And whenever he had to have surgery, he went into the hospital wearing a shirt with my brother's logo on it. And he likes to tell me that my brother saved his life because he wouldn't have known about his cancer had he not gone to the hospital to get blood work done so that he could become licensed and wrestle on my brother's tribute event that year. So over 10 years ago, he renewed his wrestling license so that he could help raise money for me and my family. He found out he had cancer. Well, he fought cancer. He beat cancer. 10 years later, the second tournament that I had mentioned before, Stryker won that tournament. So the only two people to win the tournament were Stryker and myself. Leo Fox and Adrian Vega were both trained by Stryker. Tonight, the referee for that match, which it's the rubber match, they're 1-1 against each other, to take themselves to the next level in this tournament will be refereed by Stryker. And that's a very big deal.
Yeah.
He's been the one that he has been the judge for these guys since the day they walked into the business. And tonight he will be the judge and jury. So that's incredibly special for me. And that's a lot about, or that tells you a lot about how we tell stories in this company. I love long-term storytelling, and I love taking elements of fact and elements of truth and putting that into our show. There's nothing more serious and nothing more real than how much these guys have all been through and how much they mean to me personally. And it just means the world to me that they want to be a part of this event, and it means the world to me that they put their names in the hat to be a part of this tournament. And it also means that we have, basically we've got 2 main events tonight, and I don't know who's going to take the cake, but we have 2 very important matches on the card that will really determine where this tournament goes and who's going to take home the trophy. So it's exciting.
It is exciting to say, and best luck to be involved, and make the best man win in the tournament, as well as the other main event involving Chris Morrison. What I guess then are you hoping for or trying to achieve then with this event this evening, which is you are, I don't know, maybe wanting to do something different from your last show type thing to keep the momentum going with you guys. Of course, you mentioned you got a tournament, and you've also got the big world champion in your company in action tonight. And how are you trying to try and keep the momentum going, I guess?
Well, what I love to do about these events is I love to give the audience something that they're not prepared for. They go to pro wrestling shows with the intent of being entertained. I am going to entertain them. I'm going to make sure that all these guys entertain them too, but I also want to send them home with memories. My idea has always been, guys, no matter what, win or lose, go out there and make a moment.
Yeah.
Make sure whenever the audience leaves this building, they leave talking about you. It doesn't matter if you're the first match or the last match. My goal has always been to be the first match on the card and to go out there and do something that was so entertaining and captivating that throughout the entire night, they go, okay, that second match was good, but it still wasn't better than the first one. Now, that gives a challenge to everyone in the locker room. It means they have to follow that. They have to do better than that. And then it'll give them, the initiative to step up their game and to do everything they can to be as entertaining and as real as possible so that these guys can, go home getting their money's worth, which, like $12 is a cheap ticket, but for some people, that's not a cheap ticket. For some people, that's all the money they have. So like if they're going to come and spend their hard-earned money to be a part of our event and to watch our show, I really want it to be worth their time and their money. What I hope to gain from the event tonight, we're from Oklahoma City. Our company is based in Oklahoma City, but I don't want our company to just be an Oklahoma City company. I want to be a statewide company. I want to be considered the standard for the state of Oklahoma. I want to have events in Tulsa and in Oklahoma and in Oklahoma City and in Lawton and in small towns like Cache, and I want to go all the way to Ardmore, and then I want to go all the way up to the Panhandle, which I know you're far away and you may not understand where these locations are, but they're all about 200 miles apart.
Right.
I want a big traveling show where we're going to every town and we're packing the house in every town. And when we leave the town, we tell them, hey, in 3 or 4 months, we're going to be right back here. We hope to see you. And every time we go back, we continue to get larger and larger crowds with better shows. I want to really develop a relationship with Tulsa, Oklahoma. We're here quarterly, which means 4 times a year. And we have consistently seen our audience get bigger and bigger every time we're here. The first event we had here, we may have had 20 or 30 people in the audience. 3 months ago when we were in here, there was over 100, and it's a small room, but whenever we can get that many people to pay for a ticket, and that means the show is just getting bigger and better, and the audience is willing to pay that money, that just tickles me to death because it means we're giving them what they want. Like there is another show in town tonight. They're only, maybe 20 miles from here. And I hope that they have a great crowd. I hope that they draw a sellout. I really want them to do as best as possible, but I also want that for us. So I'm not going to cut any throats to have a better crowd than them. But if I have a better crowd, it's because I earned it and we worked for it, because we're not here every month. They are, they're having bi-weekly shows. Hopefully they see there's a different show in town and they choose to come to us. But I don't want to steal fans. I want to grow fans. I instead of, they had 100, we had 50. I'd like to see 150 in both rooms. So if collectively we can all do our part and promote well enough to get new butts and seats, and we bring new fans to the table so that they can see what wrestling is in Oklahoma City and in Tuttle and in Tulsa and in Ardmore, and maybe all the way up to the state line, we all benefit from it. We all grow from it, and then we can all get paid better.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And, you're doing a great job so far with all your shows. And every time I've seen a show of yours, it's always a great turnout, especially when I first saw your show around New Year's, where it was quite an interesting show because it started on New Year's Eve and it finished on New Year's Day, which is quite different. And you thought, outside the box. I don't really see any other promotion doing that type of business, and that, of course, attracts, I'm hoping, new fans and new people to check it out. It's something different and outside the box of thinking, I guess.
Yeah, and it was just something we wanted to try because it's like, what better way to bring in the new year than to watch the ball drop with all your friends and family?
Yeah.
Where's the one place that we're all actually together at the same time? Wrestling. So like, we have had a tradition where we have done a show on New Year's Eve every year, and we plan on doing that again this year. I don't know that we will have a 10 p.m. bell time this time because that is just exhausting. It is 3 o'clock in the morning before anybody gets to go home, and it is very, very exhausting. But we definitely want to have a New Year's Eve event every year. Because the way I figured is, if say we have a 6 o'clock bell time like usual,
yeah,
we can just go have a nice party after the fact. We can still be together, but we don't have to work, and we can, get started a little sooner so that everybody can have a nice time, feel good, go home safe, and, not be completely useless the next day.
Well, I remember very correctly because this past New Year's, it was a great contest it was, and a lot of rappers was involved, and it was a lot of...
the little guys.
Yeah,
we had the half pint brawlers came.
That's right, and they entertained the crowd all right, and it was a great way to bring the new year with that being kind of the last match of the evening, and it's a great show. Yeah, I loved that show. It was great. It was just hilarious in all the different spots they did, and hopefully they'll be coming back in again in the near future into your territory.
Yeah, I hope that they come back sooner than later. I know that they will. It's just those guys worked for I think it's the Micro Brawlers. Right now, I can't remember. There's 4 or 5 different traveling groups, and they primarily work on a loop. And what they do is they get in the van, like they've got a big 5-seat van, and they pull the trailer, and they just go from town to town to town to town, and they just treat it like a traveling show. And which is kind of the dream. I wish that we could do it. The difference is that they're a much better attraction than regular sized wrestling, I guess is what I'll call it. And because there's so much independent wrestling going on, like I said, there's another show in town tonight. And there's also, like, I believe 4 different events going on tonight.
Wow.
Maybe just in Oklahoma. And I can actually confirm that. But what it is these fans are regulars. They come to wrestling every weekend, and they just decide, well, hey, do we want to go to this event or do we want to go to that event? And they just go where they feel like going. Actually, okay, so today's the 12th. Yesterday there was an event in Wetumpka, Oklahoma, which is very far south of here, but that was Majestic Championship Wrestling. They're friends of ours. And then, like I said, Native American Wrestling is today. Wrestling Against Hunger is today. And then Texoma Pro Wrestling is today. So there's 4 events today all over the state. And, if you're local and you're listening and you want to hit some wrestling, go check those places out.
Yeah, or even yourselves as well. Take yours out.
I mean, if you're in my area, you better come see me. But if you're all the way down, and if you're near the Texas border, if you're in the Ardmore area, you want to go see some wrestling, go see some wrestling. I'm never gonna be that guy that's like, don't go to that show, come to mine. I'm gonna be the one that's like, hey,
because you're also supporting each other, which I feel like more people should do nowadays. Because a lot of people are still out there. Like to have, rivals between promotions, and, try to steal fans and try to do better promoting to get the better people to come out, don't they? But, I mean, I do like the fact that with you guys, you support each other, and then hopefully as well, you guys come together every now and then.
Well,
and
that's the idea too, Edward. I work for all of these guys.
Yeah.
I've wrestled for every promotion in the state. I've been doing this for 15 years. I've been trusted enough by the promoters to hold titles in damn near every company in the state. I mean, and promotions come and go, so like things change, and promoters come and go, but things change, but there's a very few select group of guys that have been around for, 15, almost 20 years, and they're very dependable. They're very reliable. They're very talented. Like, there's a guy that I've known since I was a child. His name's Montego Sika. He just won his first heavyweight championship in 15 years. Like, he's
Wow.
been mid-card champion everywhere, but he won the big one at the Empire show last week, and I couldn't be more happy for him. But he's one of those guys like me, like, well, I hope that people compare me to him, that he's just an all-around good dude. He works his ass off. He's a family man, and he just wants to help the guys that are coming up. He wants to help the next generation, and he wants to, be beneficial and useful. And that's what I look for more than anything. If I walk into your locker room, I want to do absolutely whatever I can to make your show better. I want to do the best I can and be used as best as possible to make that happen. So, like, if you tell me, that I'm doing something that doesn't benefit the event, I'm going to tell you. I'm be like, hey man, I would be much better used in this situation or under these circumstances. Can we please help your show? And I actually did that. I worked an event over a month ago where the promoter basically told me, he said, I have no idea what I'm doing. I just know what I need to happen at the end. And he told me what he needed. And he said, will you please make this make sense? And it took me a minute because what he asked me to do was very, very, ludicrous, but it was going to look very hokey and it was going to be very silly if we didn't make sense of it.
Yeah.
So I had to sit down and really think about what can we do to make this not silly. And we managed to get it over by the end of the night, and we had a phenomenal match. We had a lot of action. We told a very fun story with a bunch of surprises. It wasn't hokey. It wasn't silly. And at the end of the day, the audience was so happy with it that they were like, please do this again. Please come back. And then I ended up getting a very large pay increase because of it. And I'm like, man, if everybody would just listen to me and pay me really well, there's no telling what we could accomplish.
That's a good story. I like that story, but I mean, you and that's another reason why I like chatting to you and discussing things with you, because you are reasonable, and you are you're all about helping each other out in any way possible can be.
Yeah, I mean, if we can all help each other a little,
yeah,
it's like you have no idea how much a little bit of help goes. It goes so far that, there's people right now, I can tell you right now, like, there are people that are having such a hard time making their show work because they just have nobody that's willing to give them any advice. But there's also people out there that, suffer from the opposite. They refuse to listen. They refuse to take advice. And it's their way only. And the people that are just going to do it their way only are never going to succeed. And there was, and I'm not throwing shade at anybody, but there's a guy that lives near me who has a fucking wrestling ring sitting on a trailer in his backyard, and he isn't running shows, and it's because of the decisions he made. And there's a lot of people that aren't doing business with him. And it's just, if he would just listen, open up his ears, and maybe take a little bit of criticism without getting defensive, and take some advice every now and then, because it's free.
Yeah.
The only time it'll cost you is when you don't use it. I love that saying. Advice is free. It only costs you when you don't take it. And if more people would try to help each other out, there'd be a hell of a lot less problems. There'd be a lot less drama. There would be no fucking crybabies in the locker room mad because they're not getting over, and it would just all fall into place. There's another thing people need to do, and it's know their fucking role, and if you can just understand that, you can't be in the main event, you can't be the winner, you can't be the champion all the time. You have to lose sometimes, in order for yourself to look better. Like, what's the fucking point of being in a roller coaster if it's constantly going up
and never coming down, and never stopping?
It never coming down. You never get the freedom and the ride. You never get to feel anything if you're just sitting there going up, 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 and that's it. It's so anticlimactic. You have to come back down. If you can't come back down from the bottom and work your way back up, you're not telling stories. So I don't know. There's and that's a really very, like, vague way of saying it and looking at it. It's just like, people need to quit being so fucking selfish.
Yeah, no,
Quit being selfish. Quit worrying about winning all the time. Go out there, be entertaining.
Yeah, and I mean, send the fans home happy. Either way, isn't it? Really, that's the main. That's the main goal.
Well, I'll put it to you this way.
Go on.
I'll give you some statistics,
Okay.
which I don't have the exact numbers,
That's
but
fine.
there's a couple of different
estimate.
websites you can go to. And I'm sorry?
I tell you, you can estimate.
Yeah, I'm going to estimate. So in 15 years, I'm thinking I've had over 700 matches. And I'm not a great math guy, but I can tell you that's roughly 50 or more a year. And there have been some years where it's been over 100. If I've had 700 matches, I bet you fucking 300 of them were good. I bet you 100 of them were great. And I can probably guarantee you that I've lost more than I've won. Even though I have won a lot, I bet you I've lost more than I've won. And I've never, ever, ever cared about that. I just want to know that everybody had a good time and that everybody involved in the match was safe.
Yeah.
That's usually what I ask the guys in the locker room when they come back. I say, you safe? Do you feel good? Is anything hurt? Are you okay? Okay. If you're okay, we're okay. And I also tell people, hey, man, don't dwell on the match you just had. Because if you're so focused about having a bad match, you're never going to have a good one. You cannot look back. You have to move forward and think about the next one you're going to have. We have an event tonight. I also have an event next week. The moment the bell rings today, I have to start thinking about the next show. And after that one's over, I have to think about the one after that.
Interesting. Because I always thought you probably think about the next show once the show tonight is finished. You know, as soon as the bell, you know, once the last bell rings, you then think about the next show. That's what I thought. I didn't know you think about it before the bell even rings. So,
well, here's what happens. Here's what happens. I'm going to be sitting back watching these matches take place.
Uh-huh.
And if something happens in the show tonight that works really, really well, I'm going to be thinking about it then. I'm going to have a notepad, and I'm going to be sitting there writing down ideas about what we can do on the following event as the show takes place. Because here's what happens. Like I mentioned before, people have very short attention spans. That's why it's really hard for you to get people walking out the door thinking about your match if it wasn't last, okay? So if I'm watching the first match, second match, third match, and then when all things are settled and the dust is calm, and I start thinking about the next show, I'm not going to remember everything. I'm not going to know what all happened because I saw so much.
Yeah.
So I start writing things down as they happen. And then I take that information and I put it towards the next event. Here's the direction I want to go. Here's the things that happened tonight that could help tell that story. And I just add them to it. You know, it could be something as simple as a bitch slap or somebody tripped over their own feet. But it could add to the story. Because if the fans get behind something and they start cheering, hey, you fucked up, that's your promo next month, man. Like, you remind them of what happened. You tell them, hey, yeah, I tripped over my own shoelaces. I tripped over my shoelace. But who fucking cares? And then that gives the fans something to remember. That gives them something to focus on, and it gives them something to chant about if they don't have anything better. Honestly, I mean, we can probably do better than that, but just an example off the top of my head, a lot of these things can be as simple as, hey, you know, you fell and you made yourself look foolish, and now we're going to remind you about it every single day. And it's going to be that distraction that the heel needs so that the babyface can make that comeback or whatever till they, you know, so that they can find their way to the finish. And it can be as minute as that, and it can be as obscure as that, or it can be, you know, hey guys, we're going to have a show September 9th. It's an outdoor show. It's a free event. We're not selling tickets. We're giving it away. I'm going to put some matches together. We don't really have storylines today. You guys haven't wrestled each other. You guys haven't wrestled each other. You two have been asking me for months, hey, when can we wrestle each other? Today is that day, so that you guys can go out there and experiment and have some fun. Just go out there and do your thing. I'll give them an amount of time, maybe 8 or 10 minutes, and say, hey, just go out there and enjoy yourselves, and then come back here. Just come back the way you left. Safe. No broken bones, please. And then if we find out on a show like that, hey, man, this really worked well. These guys had chemistry. Well, let's start thinking about how to put a program together so they can do more business. And that's just how I've always done it. We do those events a few times a year where it's just like, hey, yeah, we're throwing something together. We'll see what happens. It's free, you know. They don't have to invest too much in the story. They're just getting free entertainment. So we give them free entertainment. It gives the guys some live practice, is what I call it. You know, you can go out there and try some new things on an event like that, you know, see if they work. And hopefully it's nothing stupid like, you know, top rope stuff that's going to break your neck. But, you know, try a new submission hold or try a new pinfall. Try something that you've never done before in front of a crowd and see if they like it. And then we all know, you know, it's the after we check all those boxes, we tear a ring down and then we head back to the house.
Yeah, no, sounds good. Let's just bring up the actual matches for tonight before we move on to some other topics. So here is a flavour of what you'll be getting this evening if you are heading to the show. So you have this great matchup between Derek James and Brandon Groom. What can we expect from them two?
So here's the thing. Brandon Groom is one of the most intense wrestlers I've ever seen in my life. And Derek James is also one of the most aggressive wrestlers I've ever seen in my life. They have a lot of power behind their punches. And the story here is Derek actually came out of Brandon's wrestling school. Derek left his school and moved on to start working for other promotions. And he started winning championships. He started winning championships a lot. He's 22 years old, and he's what I consider a prodigy. He's very, very interested in moving up in the business, and he travels all across the globe. I mean, he'll just jump in a car and go from Oklahoma to the East Coast, or the West Coast. I mean, he's just for the sake of, hey, I'm going to go. He's been to California. He's been to New Jersey. He's done all that just so he could get an opportunity. And he's wrestled in barns. He's wrestled in backyards. He's wrestled in stadium venues with 20,000 seats in them. And incredible athlete. Brandon Groom, he is the type of guy that I can tell you completely honestly, we haven't gotten along our entire time I've been around. Like, he's always been nice. He's always been friendly, but we didn't agree on business. Well, recently he did something that I very, very much agreed with. And I was just like, you know what? I want to give this guy a chance. And I want to give this guy an opportunity to show me that, you know, maybe we do have a little bit in common. Maybe I will like this guy if I get to know him a little better. So I get to know the guy, and he's cool as shit. So it's like maybe there was a big miscommunication years and years ago, and now I'm happy to have him in my locker room, and I'm also happy to see that he's getting in the ring with someone that he brought into the business, and it seems like they both have something to prove. So seeing those two lock up tonight is going to be incredibly entertaining, and they're actually going to open the show tonight.
That's great to kick off the match cards.
They are kicking off. They are kicking off the show.
Well, that'd be a good way to kick your fingers off then of an exciting show, and then and then of course you have got this other great contest as well happening this evening. You've got, of course, Mr. Nasty against Tommy Dean. Who do you think will get the upper hand here, or what can we expect from either guy?
Well, honestly, I have so much respect for both of these guys because they both came from the same background when it came to pro wrestling. They're both Tulsa wrestlers. And that's one of the reasons why I've got them on this show tonight, because I absolutely love Tulsa wrestling. It is a thing in itself. You know, people go, well, what is Tulsa wrestling? Tulsa wrestling is just, it's a completely different style from what you see in Oklahoma City. These guys have a lot of passion. And I'm not saying it's better. I'm saying it's different. They have a lot of passion, and they care about their characters, but they also care about their performances. And Mr. Nasty is one of the guys that has one of the best gimmicks I have ever seen. He is hilarious, but he is also so serious that when he calls someone like a hoe, he means it. Like, he means it. Like, he will bitch slap you, and he will put baby powder in his hand before he does it, just so he can make you feel like you're less than. And it makes him an incredible heel, but it also makes him an incredible babyface when he does do stuff like that to the heels. I sent you a message if you want to check that real quick.
Yes, I did see that.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think I have a match graphic for that, but hopefully.
Okay, thank you.
If I do start saying something, do just cut me off, and I know what you're talking about.
Anyhow, And then Tommy Dean, he is another product of like the Tulsa wrestling scene, where he was one of those guys that was working on events where he wasn't getting over and he couldn't figure out why. And he started traveling a little bit, and I started to get to know him really well because he was going to like South Texas to learn, a different style. He was willing to come work for some Oklahoma City events, and he matured mentally and he matured physically, and he just became a very talented wrestler. And he's one of the best in the state now because he has all the fucking boxes checked. He's just a super, super good wrestler. So I've got two guys who started in Tulsa. I've got two guys who are extremely talented, and they've got their stuff together. They've got incredible gimmicks. They've got amazing looks, and you get them in the ring together, and they're going to put on some magic.
Yeah, no, I can't wait to see what happens. And of course, the fans are in for a treat with that contest. What other matchup would you like to discuss then? Of course, before
well,
we talk
okay,
about...
so here's the fun one. This is one of the first matches on the card. We have Team Red versus Team Red Devil. We have a professional wrestler that's been in the business for over 20 years. His name is Canadian Red Devil, and he is like the mascot for Tulsa Pro Wrestling. He is so loved by everybody. He's incredibly talented. He's so much fun to be around, and he's one of the just the silliest and most entertaining guys to watch wrestle because he is almost like the entire company of Chikara just crammed into one guy. But his merchandise sales are phenomenal. I've seen this guy selling like ladies' panties with his face on them. He sells masks to the kids like in Droogs, and it's like the Rey Mysterio effect. They see the guy in the mask and they go, "Oh man, let's go see him." He's so entertaining. He's very family friendly. But you have that, and then you have Red James on the other hand, who's just an asshole, and nobody likes him because he's got a stupid face. And we're going to basically have a Survivor Series match tonight. It's going to be Team Red versus Team Red Devil, and every single member of either team is a surprise. We don't know who's going to be on which team. We're not going to be able to find out until the match begins, and it's going to be a very big match. We're talking a Survivor Series where it's like 5 guys on either side, and it's elimination style. So they started this with a Twitter beef that then became a Facebook beef, and it became an all-around social media beef that then led to them, just running their mouths. And one challenge later, and we have Team Red versus Team Red Devil. And he said, "I'll get some guys, you get some guys, and let's go to war."
Oh, I love that.
So I'm thinking that's what it's going to be.
I like how it began on X, then on Facebook, and then pretty much any social media platform. That is just a good way to use social media to hype up a match you really want to see or want to be involved in. And then, of course, we got that matchup. We've also got what other matchup do you want to discuss? Because luckily, when you mentioned that last matchup, I was already on that picture. So I was quite lucky that we both thought alike. I like it.
Yeah. The only other match that I remember advertising is, and I don't say that it is the least of any. It is
no. There's so many different matches. It's hard to remember all of them. Of course, I know.
This match is very important, and it's very near to my heart. It is MLP versus Thomas Knight, and I have to tell you a little bit about Thomas Knight. Thomas Knight is in his mid-50s. He has been in the wrestling business for over 30 years, and he has consistently been a draw. This man sells tickets. This man gets people in the audience. He gets butts in the seats. And he is one of the most friendly and humble guys. He just wants to be a part of this business. He wants to be here, and he's earned the right to be here, and he will always be here as far as I'm concerned. He's a hell of a guy. And he earned the right to challenge for the XDWF New Gen X Championship. And I know that's a mouthful, but it is primarily a Puerto Rican defended championship. MLP has it now. And it didn't matter who had the championship. Thomas was going to challenge for it. He's ready for a fight. MLP is always ready for a fight. And I know that it's going to be an absolute barn burner because I've been listening to Thomas run his mouth about this for a month. He wants to get in that ring so bad. He's ready to just start lighting people up. So it didn't matter who had the title. He was coming for it. So it's going to be fun. I'm really excited to watch that one.
Yes, and as I mentioned as well on the graphic, which you did not quote properly, he is Sir Thomas
Oh yes, he has been knighted by the
Knight.
Queen. Can't forget that.
Yes, so I want to make sure that he may listen to this or see this or whatever, and he might not be very happy with you because you didn't call him by Sir Thomas Knight.
Oh yeah, he is Sir Thomas Knight. You can't forget it.
Yes, you can't. And then of course the big match which we all want to see. Of course, Chris Morrison, the defending UWO champion, going against
Colt Kilbane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I could say that.
Yeah. No. Like I said before, man, these guys are both heavy hitters. They're brawlers. They're strong as hell. They're incredibly talented. They both deserve the main event spot, and it's a quarterfinal for the Crow Cup tournament. It's incredibly important match to me. I'm excited to watch it, and I'm looking forward to watching it. I'm looking forward to this entire show. I'm super stoked about this whole card. I just, clock's ticking. I'm just itching for the doors to open so we can get this thing on the road. But it's going to be a very good night for Tulsa wrestling. It's going to be a very good night for UWO, and I'm extremely excited about it. I don't know. All that can be said has been said about it, and we're ready to just see how this thing plays out.
Yeah, and I have to say as well, because you're saying you're going to get the bell time to start. So the bell time is at 6 p.m. or is that when doors open at 6 o'clock?
So doors open at 5:30. The bell time is 6. So we've still got about 4.5 hours until this event starts. But
got you. Because we're already in the prime time over here of where, if you were right here right now where I am, the match, the show would be already taking place, but you've got 4.5 hours to go before you can get started, while we here in lovely the UK will be all fast asleep, unless we're partying on this Saturday night, of course. But I want to know what made you to start your own company and have all this added on stress of being a promoter, dealing with talent, dealing with venues, with all this added on pressure and just being a wrestler, telling when you need to show up and who you're facing, and that's enough stress while you got to handle all this other extra stress on top of all that as well. What made you to do all that, and are you finding it very stressful as you probably thought it was going to be, or maybe not?
Well, you know what? Stress is the word, but it's also so rewarding. This is something that I've wanted to do my whole life. I mean, I remember being 9 years old watching pro wrestling, and all I ever wanted to be was a pro wrestler. You know, I didn't even bother to go to college because I was like, I'll just find a job that I can maintain my financial situation, and I can cover all my bills so that I can have free weekends to be a wrestler. And that was a decision. Like, I had the opportunity to go to several colleges, and I was just like, fuck that, I'm going to wrestle. So I was a wrestler for probably 8 or 9 years, and in the time that I was wrestling as a young man, I would help with the booking for several of the companies that I worked for, because a lot of those guys, they just didn't care to mess with it. And I was a very creative person at the time. I was really proud of the fact that I could tell some stories. And that being said, they were just like, well, why don't you just do the booking? So for Sooner World Class Wrestling, when I was in my early 20s, I was the booker there, which I shared that responsibility with the technical booker, Kevin James Sanchez. I did all the work. He got all the credit. That's not a dig. It's just true. We were roommates, and we understood the situation. We were both cool with it. And then I moved on to work for a different promotion for a few years where I had absolutely no say in the creative aspect of things, and it drove me nuts just being told what to do. For 2 years straight, it was just like, hey, this is what you're doing. And I hated it because none of it was stuff that I wanted to do. And when I left that company, I started working for a different promotion that wasn't new to me. It was just something that became a bigger priority. And it was the Mid-South Wrestling Alliance. Mid-South Wrestling Alliance was owned by Mike Crawford, and he needed some help because they had just moved into a new venue, and he was also an MMA promoter. And he was like, look, this is a lot for me. I need some help. I would like someone to step up, and I offered to do so. At the same time, I also took charge of the wrestling school there. So I was basically running the business. Yeah, I was basically running the business from Monday through Thursday as a wrestling coach, and then on Friday I was the promoter and I was the booker and I was, head agent and matchmaker and whatever you want to call it, whatever people call it nowadays. I was responsible for almost all of it, and then some unfortunate things happened, and MSWA had to close. And I don't want to bury anybody, so I won't get into that. But it was a very ugly ending. And my now business partner, Ricky Wingrave, was one of my head students. And he was like, well, why don't we just do it ourselves? And I said, I think we're going to have to. So with Mike's blessing, I did 2 events under the MSWA banner. And then they were very, very profitable. And because they were profitable, Mike wanted some of the money. And I said, well, buddy, I did all the work,
Yeah.
I'd like to keep the money. And we disagreed on that. But because he wasn't interested in running wrestling anymore, he was like, all right, well, if you're going to run it, you need to, not use my name. And I was like, all right, whatever. So no heat, no drama. It was time for us to do our own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I had already attempted to run an RDW event in the past, and the only reason we didn't do it is because there was a miscommunication with the building. So I had RDW in the back pocket, but I didn't want to call it Red Dirt Wrestling. I wanted something else. And I am a very big fan of parody likenesses and logos. Like, a lot of my logos are ripoffs of other things. Like, my DG logo is quite literally the Doctor Who logo. I just turned the W into a G. And I'm a big fan of that type of stuff. I feel like it's more relatable and personable. I'm wearing a UWO t-shirt right now that is a ripoff of the Paw Patrol logo. And I love that stuff because they're like, oh, hey, that's Paw Patrol, or hey, that's the video game WCW Revenge, or hey, that's the Blockbuster logo, or hey, that's the Nickelodeon logo, or and so we took the NWO logo and we flipped the U on it, or we flipped it to a U, and we quite literally just made UWO. And I didn't want like a company with a bunch of like W's and F's in it. I didn't want it to be like the WCCW PWX Pro Wrestling from South Texas. Like there's some companies where it's like, hey, 3 or 4 letters is enough. You don't need to have 6. It becomes redundant. So I was like, let's try to stick to 3 letters. Let's make it fun. And then let's come up with a design that people are going to recognize immediately. So that's what we did. We did UWO. And Unified Wrestling Oklahoma was born. We did one event in Bethany, Oklahoma, where we rented out another promoter's venue and ring. I just paid him cash and said, hey, we'd just like to do a show here. I don't want to take anything from you. I just, I'd like to pay you money to use your facility. And he was more than gracious and helpful, and what we should be, as a team. Like, we all worked together. He understood what I was trying to do, which was give people time and give them places to work. And, we worked as a team for a little while. I then found a few other venues, and we started becoming more of a traveling show. And we've been going hard ever since. It's been 3.5 years now, and we're planning on, shooting for the moon. I mean, I'm going to run this business as long as I'm alive. I love it so much, and I love having a place for these guys to go. There's almost 100 or plus wrestlers in the state of Oklahoma who just want to work. They just want to get to work. They want to wrestle. So if I can provide that, I think it's worth the stress of being the promoter. I think it's worth the stress of being a trainer, because I tell the kids in my school kind of the same thing. I say, hey, the only thing I can promise you is that you're going to make a lot of friends. There's a lot of us, and we all get along. So, if I can provide anything, it's a place for these younger guys to go when they want to learn how to, perfect their craft or become wrestlers in general. I've had, over 50 potential students coming through the school in the last 3 years, and some of them have made it all the way through. Some of them, are still trying to find their way and get their feet wet. And some of them, made it 2 or 3 weeks and then realized it wasn't for them and then they left. But that's the business. It's not for everyone. But I do like to tell people pro wrestling is for everyone. Meaning, you don't have to be a wrestler to be involved in the business. We need managers. We need referees. We need announcers. We need ticket takers. We need security guards. We need popcorn and cotton candy sellers. If you just want to be involved, but you don't want to get your ass beat every day, there is a place for you just like anyone else. I understand completely that some people don't want to get hurt, and who wants to get hurt? But that doesn't mean that you can't be involved in one way or another. So if I can provide a place for anyone and everyone who wants to be involved, as long as they promise not to be, jerks, creeps, or criminals, I'll welcome them. So I guess that's something I could do. I could plug the fact that we have a school right now. It's called the DG Dojo. We have classes in Oklahoma City twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays. And then I can plug the UWO shop, which is a brand new t-shirt business that I started. We're doing our own merchandise in-house. I produce all of my own merchandise in my house. So we make t-shirts, we make cups, we make iron-on vinyls and, bumper stickers and whatever else you can make. And it's all pretty quality stuff. Like, we haven't produced anything that wasn't worth selling. And if it wasn't above standard, I wouldn't wear it. And I'm wearing one right now. So, yeah, I'm not just the promoter and the trainer and the wrestling coach and the booker and the businessman and the concessions guy and the trainer. And there's about 5 or 6 other fucking things that I am. And if you want your business to thrive and be profitable and survive, you have to be willing to wear multiple hats.
Yeah.
So that's my thing. If I can find another hat, I'm going to put it on. We also make hats.
I would like to apologize again. You might not have heard this, but I don't apologize if you heard any dogs barking in the background or if enjoying what Drake was saying there. If he did, then apologies. We do have windows open in my studio, so you may have heard some background noise or voices in the background.
No worries here.
To put that out there. Quick questions for you. Okay, so I want to know who are your good friends you've made in the world of wrestling since you've been, part of the UWO and other promotions you've gotten to work with so far. Who are some of the closest people you've become good friends with? You mentioned Chris Morrison earlier on in the show. Who else?
Oh man, Chris. I've been really tight with Chris for over 10 years. We used to be in a group together. The other would be Sam Stackhouse. He's kind of on fire right now. He's kicking ass all over the country. He's a big deal. He's on GCW. He's on all these really high level indies, and he's 6'3", 440 pounds. He can do a standing backflip. He's amazing. But he's the godfather of my daughter. I'm the godfather of his daughter. We were best men in both of our weddings. So he's been standing by me for well over a decade now. He's one of the best people I know. Don't get to talk to him every day. I wish we'd talk more, but I love him to death, and I'd do anything for that man. The other would be Ricky Wingrave. I feel exactly the same about him. He's one of the best people I know. And then there's Ryan Allen. He's the head of my wrestling crew. He sets up and tears down every single ring. He secures every single trailer. He handles all the ins and outs, and he does all the grunt work in this business. He's Ryan the Ripper as a pro wrestler when he does wrestle, and nobody's perfect, and none of us are all, none of us are like, without our flaws, but we're all, just doing the best we can. And that's what I love about all these guys, is that they never pretend to be something they're not. And we're always real with each other. We're always straightforward with each other. And, I could list 100 people, because in all this time I've made so many friends. Chris Burnham is not a wrestler. He's a manager, but he is also in charge of a website called oklafan.com, and he has been like the primary resource for information in this state for a long, long time. And if it wasn't for him, none of us would have a clue what's going on. And a lot of people give him shit and think he's a mark, but I think he deserves his flowers. I think he's a hell of a guy. He's one of my favorite people to talk to. And there's there's shit dozens. There's dozens of people that are just all around good guys, and they all work very, very hard, and they all do their jobs. Like Red James, I mentioned that piece of shit earlier, man. He's promoting daily. He is consistently putting out high quality information. Like, he will give every address, every date, every time. He will consistently start promoting and putting over schools and, businesses, and if there's matches that have been announced, he's sharing it. And it's not just for the companies that he works for, it's everyone. He's a phenomenal guy. Martin Slagger, he's in the building right now helping put this ring together, and he's been in the business almost 30 years.
Wow.
And he actually gave me my first match. He was the promoter for OECW when I was 15 years old in 2008, and he offered me a spot on the show. I took it, and I've been running with that ball ever since. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here. There's a lot of phenomenal fucking people around here, man. And that's the thing. Like, there's a lot of people that'll roll their eyes at some of these guys, but they are, first class, just good people.
Well, I like how you mentioned about, Chris Morrison and Sam Stackhouse, and it's interesting because they wrestled for you and many other promotions in Oklahoma, but they've also wrestled as well in Texas. Some of the companies they wrestled at, they wrestled vice versa. They wrestled there first, and a few months later, the other person wrestled there. So it's quite fun how they're using talent from your neck of the woods, from who have been on your shows, going to these different companies either at the same time, or one goes first, and then a few months later, the other person goes to the same place. It's quite good.
Well, that's word of mouth, hey, you guys need talented wrestlers? I know several, and then you put a word in for each other, and I feel terrible because I'm not full-time anymore.
No, but I've seen that.
I mean, Morrison's tried to get me on shows in fucking Texas and Mexico for a year now. He's like, come on, you should come with me. And I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm just going to stay home on my couch.
What can you say? What kind of shows he's trying to get you to come in with, or is it not really a place to say? Or
well, it's not that I don't remember what the company was, but it's just like, he's like, hey, yeah, they really like aggressive deathmatch wrestling, and that's something that I've done my whole life. He's like, you would fit in really well here, and you'd get paid a lot of money. And I'm just like, yeah, but I need to cut my grass. So
yeah, well,
so I'm enjoying my time at home.
I think you need to get out a bit more, Drake. That's what you need to do. You need to get back out there a bit more.
That's the thing, though. Like, I don't know if you're planning on having kids, man, but once you start having kids and you buy a home and you take pride in the way your property looks, man, I'm going to tell you right now, the most satisfying thing that's going on in my life right now is I have two children. I have one son, I have one daughter, and I have a beautiful wife at home. And I spent the last 10 to 15 years of my life, every single Saturday was in a car 4 or 5 hours a day to get to another show, to wrestle, to get right back in the car and go right back home, and then go right back to work. And being able to just go home and hang out with my wife and hang out with my kids and cook dinners and cut grass and, build shit and do dad stuff. Like last night I built a trampoline for my son, 3rd birthday gift, and I got to wake him up and say, hey, buddy, let's go check it out. And that is just as satisfying for me as anything else I've ever done in the business. So, like, the fact that I can take a step back and open up a spot for someone else, and I can still be here. I can still run the school. I can still make the T-shirts. I can still promote the shows. I can do all of that. And I'm still here, and I'm still a part of it, and I'm not getting the shit beat out of me. I think that's okay, Like, I will wrestle. I'm still wrestling. I'm not done.
Yeah.
But
it's just not as often as you once was. But that doesn't mean that in 10 years or so, once your children are, 18 or whatever, that you can come back to be a bit more relevant in
Well,
different
there's that
states
too,
again.
man. Like, and I wouldn't even use the term relevant.
Relevant. I know it was the wrong term to use. I do apologize.
No problem. No eat. But like, if I walk through that curtain just to go say hello to somebody, I'm gonna get a reaction. I don't have to wrestle. But here's the thing: like, it's gonna get to the point where I'm gonna need to wait until the right time to have the right matches with the right opponents, because I'm 30 and I feel like I'm 50. My back hurts, my hips hurt, my head always hurts. I am a victim of CTE. I do have torn meniscus, torn ACL, torn PCLs in my left knee. I have broken hands. I have broken feet. I've never had a single surgery, so I've got bone chips in my right foot from an injury from 2 years ago. I hobble around like an old man, and I shouldn't. So here's what's going to be the game plan from here on out. When it's the right time and the right match and it makes the most sense, that's when I put my boots on, because I don't want to be that guy that's too beat up to play with his kids. And I don't want to be that guy that disappears either. So I'm going to be here, but I'm going to be here under a different capacity for the most part. I do have scheduled matches coming up. I'm wrestling in October for sure. I may have a match between now and then. But going from 110 matches in 2022 to I think I've had less than 20 matches in 2023. I've kept the same travel schedule, but I haven't had the same bump schedule. I haven't gotten the shit kicked out of me, gotten beat up, broken, anything. I'm healthy, and I'm about as healthy as I've ever been. I've actually gotten in better shape having the time to exercise instead of getting in the car and heading from show to show to show. So it benefits me and my health the best, so that then I can produce more for my family.
That makes sense.
It's crazy because the less I wrestle, it seems like that's the more money I'm making.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, if it's working out, then that's the best thing to do, really. And
I will say this, though. I do have a lot of unfinished business, and it's a good thing I'm only 30, because I've got a lot of time to get that business taken care of. Like, I feel like I was given a very big advantage and a very big head start by starting in this business as young as I did. And like, I had a student come into my school for the first time. It was his first day in the business. You want to guess what his age was?
15.
He was 30.
Oh, right. A bit like DDP. Bit older than a bit younger than DDP, but around similar.
Yeah. I mean, DDP started at a very late age too, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying, like, you go look at my resume, go look at my my accomplishments and all my accolades and all the things I've done in 15 years. It's a lot. And I'm not saying that to be braggadocious or anything, because honestly, I don't think about those things every day, but I know that I've accomplished something, and I know that I've kind of left a stamp on this business, and I know that I've left a positive stamp on this business, especially in Oklahoma. When you start thinking about who made a difference, I want people thinking about me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely indeed. It's been a pleasure having you on this show.
It's been very nice talking to you too.
Yes. Well, we have talked previously, but not for this long, I would say. So
no.
We have talked before, but not this long, I have to say. But I hoped that you will come back on the show again. We'll do it again. I hope the show goes well this evening as well.
Thank you.
But I want to know, as a final question to you, who would you suggest to come on the show after you? Who should come on the show after you?
I think you'd like to talk to Ricky Wingrave for sure. If you're looking for someone that's he's the heart and soul of this company, and he's got a much different opinion than mine. It's almost like the odd couple. We're not anywhere close. Like, we have very different opinions on, what we're doing and why. And I think that you would get the yin to my yang if you spoke to him.
Okay, can do. But before we let you go, though, I just want to tell everybody at home, you may have seen us when we were showing the matches for tonight's show. But on Monday night on my channel, we've got the wonderful country singer, making her first appearance on the show, Jessica Lynn. There she is, over 637,000 followers will be coming on this show. Jessica Lynn on Facebook and, of course, on Instagram as well. Should be on the show on Monday night with myself. It's going to be a great show. It's going to be what's best for business, so you better tune in if you want to see Jessica Lynn on the show on Monday nights. Again, full announcement coming tomorrow afternoon. But thanks again to my guest, Drake. And if you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to like it, share the video around to your friends, tell them about Drake Gallows, tell them more about UWO. Check them out tonight if you're around, or in the coming days or coming weeks on either Patreon/YouTube as well. Because there'll be a lot of content coming to both of those platforms. And until the next episode drops, enjoy the rest of your day with over 212 subscribers.
Thank you.